everyone, I'm Abigail, this is Elliott, and welcome to another Two Kid interview.
We're joined by the amazing author Debbie Dadey, whose books have sold over 45 million copies.
Ms. Dadey is best known for the book series Adventures of the Bailey School Kids,
Triplet Trouble, Ghostville Elementary, and Mermaid Tales, and so much more. Thank you for being with us.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me today. Nice to meet you guys.
You have written an incredible 182 books.
How do you have time to do all that?
And how do you find time to talk to us?
Well, I'm really old, so I've been writing for a long time and I enjoy it. And I enjoy talking to you guys. So writing is a passion of mine and it's something I enjoy doing. So when you like to do something, you do it as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
You write children's books. How are your books influenced by your own childhood?
Well, I loved to read as a kid, and one of my most favorite things to read were like series. So I think that's why I like writing series so much today. Because if you read one and you enjoy it, you feel kind of safe reading another one by the same author in that series. So I think that's maybe why I like writing series.
How do you come up with the ideas for your books?
I get ideas from everywhere. I used to live in Chicago, and so I went to the Field Museum there, and they had this really creepy mummy exhibit. So with my friend Marsha, we wrote a story called "Mummies Don't Mummies Don't Play Softball." So I've also gotten ideas for my children. They play a lot of soccer. So I wrote a zombie book about soccer. Zombies don't coach soccer. And just different ideas from all over. One of my newest books actually is about a lady who is a scientist. And I read an article about her in online. And I said, somebody should write a book about her. And I went, well, I'm an author. Maybe I could write that book. And this lady is, her name is Dr. Katie Carrico. And the book just came out this year called Never Give Up, because she was a person who wouldn't give up. Even after 40 years of trying to make this technology work, she wouldn't give up on it because people told her it would not work. But guess what? It did. And it turned into something that we could use for a vaccine that saved a lot of people's lives.
What is your process when putting a book together?
Do you decide the end before the middle?
Or do you put it together in order?
Actually, I do what a lot of people call outlining or planning. I'm not a pantser, which means you just kind of write and see what happens. But I do like to plan and think about what's going to happen. So I do like a little line or sentence of what I think might happen in each chapter. So I do know the end before I even start writing the story, which I think helps you sort of work toward that goal of the end. I don't know if you've ever been on a road trip visiting places, and don't you take a map or put it in the GPS or on the phone to tell you, ask you where to go. So using that plan or outline is kind of like a roadmap to me, or a GPS to help me not to get lost in my story. Because I know a lot of people who like to write, but they start writing without a plan, and then they kind of get lost, and they're like, oh, I'm in the middle of the story and I don't know what's going to happen next. Well, that's why I like to kind of plan ahead. And sometimes I change my story, the ending, because I think of something better, and I think, oh, I think I should do this. Or my characters kind of want to do that, and I feel like I should change the story. So it's not set in stone, but my plan, but it gives me a good kind of foundation of how to write my story.
Can you tell us about the time where you were doing something and noticed someone or something and thought, I need to put that in a book?
Well, my oldest son would not be happy for me to tell you this, but when he was younger, he would have like horrible allergies or whatever. We found out later he was allergic to dogs, but we didn't know that at first. And he would have like, oh, terrible boogers. And so I wrote a story called Bobby and the Great Green Booger. And I was going to name it Nathan and the Great Green Booger, but he said, no way, don't name that after me. So, you notice things and you think, oh, that's kind of funny or silly or whatever. And I like to write about silly things. So if I notice anything silly, I sometimes put it in a story.
After you finished your first draft, how much did you revise in the book?
Oh, writing is my favorite thing. Rewriting is not my favorite thing, but I know to make your story the best it can be, that's what you have to do. So I do rewrite a lot. I noticed you have the book behind you called Cherokee Sister. This is one of my books, and I actually rewrote that book for 8 years before it was published. I wrote it, I don't know how many different times, changed it so many different times. The book Ghosts Don't Eat Potato Chips that I wrote with my friend Marsha Jones, that book we rewrote for 2 years before we sold it. So different amounts of time on different books to rewrite them and to get them the best they can.
When you decided to become a children's author, did you work out if you could do it?
I did not know if I could do it. I had never met an author before I became an author. So it was just kind of like these magical people who lived on a hill somewhere who wrote stories. And, it was hard. I couldn't hardly think that a real person could do that. So my friend Marcia and I tried for about 1.5 years before we sold our first book. We kept writing and sending them in to publishers, asked them if they'd like to make our story into a book. And then 1.5 years later, we got a phone call from Scholastic, and they said, we really want to publish your first book, Vampires Don't Wear Polka Dots, and we want to buy it and make it into a book. And we were so excited. I danced on the tabletop in my library when we got the news that they wanted to buy that story.
Why do you think people love the Bailey School kids so much?
Well, we've been very lucky that we've written there's 51 numbered ones. There's super specials, holiday specials, joke book. They're coming out now. It's graphic novels. The next graphic novel is going to be Ghosts Don't Eat Potato Chips, and it comes out in September. So we're excited about that. I think maybe it's because the kids are real. They're not perfect. They don't always do what they should do, which is like a normal kid. Maybe that's part of the appeal. And I know my mom said when I was a kid, I would do just this close to getting in trouble. Just kind of push. I always had to push the line. And maybe that's kind of what Eddie does too. So there's a little bit of me and Eddie, I think.
What writer has the most influence on you?
What writer?
Yeah.
Marsha Thornton Jones, I guess, who is my co-author of the Bailey School Kids and several other series. Definitely. She was the person who said, we can't give up. We got to keep trying. So we did keep trying, even after, we got a lot of rejection when we were first starting, which it's hard when you're first starting writing because people say, oh, it's not good enough. And you just feel like quitting. When that's with a lot of things, like basketball or soccer or whatever you're trying to do, it's hard to keep going when you're not as good as you want to be.
What advice do you have for young people who want to write?
Well, you're welcome to go to my website, debbiedadey.com, and I have on there a writing page. And on that writing page, I have some different activities and tips and things that you might want to try. The right side of the screen has a bunch of things for kids, and the left side is more for adults. But there's videos that you might want to watch about writing that are writing is writing, whether you're an adult or a kid, the process is still the same. But I hope you'll take a peek at that. And also, I think the most important thing, though, is to read a lot and to write a lot. Because people say that I'm a writer, and I say, oh, have you been writing lately? And they say, no. I'm like, well, then you're not really a writer if you're not writing. So writing as much as you can it's practice. So, the old saying, practice makes perfect. So keep writing and to get the best you can be.
Do you have any other projects in the works that you can tell us about?
I mentioned Ghost Don't Eat Potato Chips comes out in September. And the next book after that is called The Dolphin Dream. And it is a mini Mermaid Tale series. book number 2 in the Mini Mermaid Tale series.
Finally, it's time for our Turbo 10.
10 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
Let's go. Number 1. What is your favorite phrase to use?
Number
Oh,
2.
when somebody asked me that, I'd say Holy Toledo, because that's what Eddie always said in the Bailey School Kids books.
Number 2. What is one subject you love to learn more about?
I'd like to learn Spanish.
Number 3. What is your go-to snack food?
Oh, how about a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup? That sounds really good.
Number 4. What is your favorite book growing up?
Cherry Ames Student Nurse.
Number 5. If you could teleport somewhere right now, where would you go?
Oh, man. New Hampshire, where my grandkids are.
Number 6. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Wow. Flying. Sounds pretty fun.
Number 7. What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Oh, I guess I'm really all Bugs Bunny.
Number 8. What is your favorite rainy day activity?
Reading, definitely.
Number 9. If you could have any 3 dinner guests, who would they be?
Oh, it'd be members of my family who passed away.
Number 10. What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
If you don't like something, change it.
You did stupendous, and thank you for doing that.
And thank you for spending so much time with us.
We
Oh,
appreciate it so much.
thank you guys for having me.